This is a story about the potential use of uh, alligators, crocodiles, and venomous snakes and such to use them as a barrier, like in a marshy where you have areas in between states, nations. Think of like a moat, that kind of a thing, where there's marshy areas that you can control the nature, like keep it in a certain area, like to use it in between two nations, two states, to keep people from entering into your state, your nation, like a wall, like a border wall. It's something that has been done and probably will be done more going forward, perhaps. It's something that it reminded me of. There was this girl that I was dating when I was in the Air Force, that her family owned Badger Oil Company. Maybe the most affluent family in Altus, Oklahoma, where I was stationed. But her grandmother's mansion, like this beautiful stone mansion, it had a barrier wall to keep people from coming into her property. They had a nice swimming pool in there, and the girl's name was Janny. Janny talked me into climbing the wall to get over the wall and then unlock the door. They had this door that was built into the wall. And I reached up there, and I climbed up on top of that wall. And the wall was maybe 2 feet thick. And on top of that 2 feet up there, whoever had constructed the wall, they had taken concrete and they had taken broken bottles and had put them all on top of put the concrete in, and then put the glass in, so that the shards of glass from broken bottles would be, all on top of that. So if someone just reached up there, they could cut their hand. Certainly, you get up there, you could get hurt. So trying to climb over that wall. And Janny, evidently, she didn't have any idea that was up there. And I was dumbfounded. I was like, holy shit. What people will do to, keep someone out of, or to keep somebody from trespassing, violating what they have, their area, their property. I remember that moment. I was like stupefied. I was like, how come I didn't even think of that? And it was miraculous that I didn't, cut my fingers to the bone when I reached up there, when I climbed up to and got up on top of that wall. And I then did manage to get over that top and down, over the other side, and unlock that door for her. But I was like, man, what kind of people are these people? It left me with that kind of, I was like, what kind of people am I involved with here? It just set in place like this. What the hell? I don't know. I understand it, but didn't really want to be around some people like that. It was a real turnoff. I understand it. It's just, I don't know. I get it, but it's like the same as booby trapping, your car. So there are people that do that in different places in the world. I'd heard this before. I read an article about this years ago, whereas they set up traps, whereas when you get inside of the car to steal a car, acid would dump on top of you, could dump down on your face or whatever from, above. Things like that. There's people that do things like that. I don't know. It just I get it, but I never wanted to ever hurt someone like that. Like, I understand it all, but I don't know. I don't know. Just well, to each his. I don't know. I'd say that's. Oh shit! I don't know, man. I don't know. Imagine that, though. If our nation were to take that cruel approach, which I think now the mindset of some people that are in authority, that that think about how crass, how callous they manifest, their mode of operandi, how they do things, by giving full support to a nation that did like what Israel did to this defenseless people in Palestine and their neighbors. I mean, brutalizing, killing thousands of children, women and children, defenseless people, man. Totally razing, leveling, where they lived, and taking away their electricity, their sewage, their water, their roadways, causing to become displacing what hundreds of thousands of people, and leaving them with nothing really, not even allowing sustenance in basic necessities for survival. I don't know, when you have, like, that's the kind of people we have in charge right now in our government that are supporting that type of situation. So we're not far from that being something that would be done here. I realize that because, when I captured that massive fallout of carcinogenic industrial chemicals from Norfolk Southern's illegal burn-off of at least 34 railroad containers that were carrying hazardous materials. They burn it all off on the Pennsylvania border, and all of it, irrefutably, you can see it's on satellite and radar imagery, or the history, from the night of the derailment fires all the way through for 3 days. They illegally burnt that shit off, and it all went onto Pennsylvanians, and it was covered up. Our government knew, the Ohio and Pennsylvania authorities knew, and there were authorities within our federal government that knew. The Federal Weather Agency, whatever the hell it's called, they were monitoring, the radar, and they knew the altitude of those chemicals, and they knew when it fell out in Pennsylvania, and knew all that, and nobody gave any warning or even an opportunity is what I'm saying, for thousands of people in western Pennsylvania to even shelter in place to mitigate that contamination. They just kept it all quiet to avoid a multi-billion-dollar price tag, for that man-made disaster in Pennsylvania. It was never an Ohio disaster. It happened on the Pennsylvania border. But when I saw the mindset, when I recognized that the firemen who responded to that derailment on the Pennsylvania border, they were told to not put out the fires, and none of them sounded the alarm to give the people in Pennsylvania a chance to mitigate that contamination, to evacuate or shelter in place. When I saw that they kept their mouths shut, all of those fire stations that responded. Think about that. We're talking about the most honorable people we can think of, right? Our firemen. And not one of them raised their voice because they knew they had something coming if they just played along and acted like they were there to put out the fires. when the media did their reports and they were posing. In truth, when I saw that, I'm getting right down to it, and when I captured the media, when I was capturing the fallout in Pennsylvania on timestamp cellular video, and the media, the station WTAE, Channel 4 Action News out of Pittsburgh, they just sat there and they never reported on it to give anyone warning because someone had given them a directive, told them not to. When I recognize these things and I think about that kind of mindset, as I just talked about earlier, well, think about it. If our lawmakers, our authorities in our nation would champion, would support, give unconditional support to the nation state of Israel to murder and maim defenseless civilians, people. If they would do it to support someone else, well, they'll do it to support somebody here that wants it done. If somebody wants it done here in the United States, those same monsters in our Congress and Senate and whatever other people that support the nation state of Israel, that mindset, it's here. It's here. The same thing, and with what was done with the hiding of that fallout, with that contamination of carcinogenic industrial chemicals, we're here already. We're here already. I thought about it at the time that I captured that, and, I was monitored, I was surveilled, I couldn't get out, the news about what had happened here. And you can't find one story. You can't find one report about that massive fallout here in Pennsylvania. And all of it went here. All of it. All of it. I'm not saying that it was split. It was never split. It was never a radius, kind of emergency. They based their silencing settlement, which they only based it on 5 containers, and it was 34. But it's a radius settlement. So half of the people even that are involved in the radius settlement are liars. They're carrying the narrative, that lying narrative. They reported on that disaster in East Palestine, but you never heard about where the disaster was. They reported on it in safety, just like the firemen were there standing west of the derailment fires, west of, which would mean they were in East Palestine, basically. They were standing there acting like they were trying to put out the fires. But when you know that, when you put it all together and you can see it in Jesus' name, you can see it all. You can step back and you see all these things. We're already there. We're there.